The One Happy Diabetic video you're about to watch contains content that was created based on our unique experiences with diabetes and should not substitute for the advice of medical professionals. The opinions expressed in this video do not reflect those of our employers, doctors, friends, or favorite grocery store checkout person. They are solely our own. Enjoy!
Hey guys, it's Bill from OneHappyDiabetic.com. Hope you're having a great day out there today. Hey listen, today's video is going to be a quick response video to the MTV show, The Real Life I Have Diabetes. Now if you didn't catch it, I definitely would go maybe, I don't know if Hulu has it, but I don't know, I'd go search the web sphere and see if you can find MTV The True Life I Have Diabetes. It was a very interesting show. It followed three people with three different stories about having diabetes. One was a girl who was just out of college and had to move back in with her mother and father because she had a large amount of credit card debt, a lot of it due to her diabetes and the cost of her medications and gadgets and all that fun stuff. Also, it followed a fellow named Matt who was in college and kind of going into that transitional period, trying to find out who he was. He was doing a little bit of partying. Drinking a lot of alcohol and trying to live this normal college life, but also having type 1 diabetes. Then it also followed this other lady who was 19 years old and she was pregnant and found out through her pregnancy that she had type 2 diabetes. And then actually at the end of the episode, it was kind of thought that she actually developed type 1 diabetes through this whole thing. So she might have been misdiagnosed, either type 1 or type 2 or type 1.5. You guys can look them up, do the research on that. There's a little bit of controversy whether or not she had type 1 or LADA or, type 1.5. But listen, I'm not here to judge anybody on their diabetes. So this isn't a video bashing, Matt or Kristen and, all these folks that were on this True Life show. I give them a lot of credit for going on the show and really showing people a little bit about themselves and how diabetes is a struggle. I mean, we all know it's a struggle, and this is what I find so interesting. I've been reading a couple blogs and a couple of responses already to this show, and a lot of them are kind of like negative, like, oh, MTV didn't portray it the right way, and they made it so depressing, and it's really not like that, and oh, they diagnosed her, type 1, it's really this, and listen, that's all great and everything, but this is the story of these people, right? So you have this one lady who just got out of college. She has 12 grand in credit card debt due to her diabetes expenses. Now listen, I know how expensive it is to have diabetes. I've had diabetes over 24 years, and I've been without insurance and had to pay for my supplies. And actually, I have insurance now, and actually when I went to go pick up my insulin, just my insulin alone, I saved $453 because I had insurance, and then I still had to pay 70 bucks. But listen, I know this stuff is expensive, but this girl said she had 12 grand in credit card debt, yet she was driving like a nice car, had a flat screen Samsung TV, and listen, I'm sure not all of her debt was associated with her medical bills, but listen, I'm sure a large portion of it was. She had to pay for a new insulin pump, and it looked like a new CGMS that cost over 2 grand. When she was moving back in with her parents, there was like this immediate conflict, and almost like her parents were treating her like this teenager. They had a they had a contract that she needed to sign. Like, I'm gonna make my bed every day if I'm not gonna pay rent, and I'm gonna have my blood sugar in check, and this and that. I mean, this contract was a little unrealistic. I mean, telling somebody you have to have a contract in order for you to live here for free in your parents' house that you have to have good blood sugars. I mean, I can't sign that. I don't know anybody that can really sign. I mean, that's a tough contract for me to sign. My wife was like, Bill, you got to sign this contract. In order to live in the house you're living in now, you have to have good blood sugars and make your bed. I'd be like, I'll pack my bags. I'll see you later. I don't know if I can do that. It's kind of a little high hill to climb there. So there was a lot of unrealistic expectations that she had, and she had a ton of pressure. I think she had a lot of pressure of finding out who she was as a person and growing into that adulthood. She had a lot of pressure with this mounting debt that she had to pay it off quickly so she doesn't have to continue to live at her house. And also, just the pressure of how do I socialize with diabetes, but how do I like go out and hang out with my friends and maybe have a drink or two and then come home to my parents' house? Just kind of a little odd situation. The other really interesting thing about this girl, and not only her, but Matt, who is the college-age kid, they were all drinking regular soda. Like, hello, people. I mean, I don't get it. This Matt kid will just the girl that we're just talking about, she was drinking Sprite, regular Sprite, in one of the episodes at the end. And Matt, who's the college-age kid, he like starts off his like explaining who he is, and he's like, and here's the bag I take out every day before I go out partying, and he's throwing in like all these Mountain Dews. And I mean, granted, at the end of the video, he was drinking Sprite Zero, so obviously he gets it. I don't blame this Matt kid. Listen, I've been where he is. Maybe not at the level that he has been at, but I've been in college and I've drank too much and I've had a seizure because of it, literally. Not one of my proudest moments, definitely one of my scariest moments. And how you react to that is really kind of, how do you explain to somebody what happened when you don't really know what happened and how to prevent it and things like that? And his tagline throughout the whole show, I just thought was golden. And I'd like you guys to comment on this. He said, would I rather my disease be better or would I rather my life be better? So he was kind of saying that, would I rather, put the effort in towards me and my diabetes or me and my life? And listen, I think that is a great question. I've been there. I've been there when you're in that situation of like, oh, should I be eating this or should I just be acting like a normal person? Should I be going out and doing this or should I, not do that because I want to keep my, blood sugars in check and be responsible? He also, was drinking heavily in the show. And actually had a visit with his doctor where his A1C rose from 7.4 to 8.1, I believe. And he told his doctor he was drinking 4 to 5 times a week. And his doctor wasn't really like alarmed. He said it was like okay to drink, but just not that excessively. But his doctor made a good point that I think was overmissed by a lot of people. He said to him, he says, Matt, you have to respect your disease. You have to respect the fact that you have diabetes. And I thought that was a great point because he was in the, he was in that state where he wasn't respecting the fact that he had it. The third person in this episode was a 19-year-old mother who ended up developing, first it was gestational diabetes, then it was type 2 diabetes, then it was type 1 at the end of the show. Kind of a confusing diagnosis for her. I felt really bad for her, to be honest with you. And there was a lot of misinformation, I want to say, that was going on. And there was a lot of scare tactics that the dietitians and her doctors and her gynecologists were telling her about, if you don't get your blood sugar in check, your kid could die. This scare tactic of if you don't stop eating right, if you don't start eating right, your kid's gonna die. Do you know that? Do you get that? And obviously she doesn't understand that. One of the really interesting things that I found about her story specifically was just the lack of education, literally, lack of education about nutrition. And when I was done watching the show, I was like, what if our school system really got involved with nutrition and eating healthy, and how much money actually that would save in health costs in the long run, and just people going to the hospital for reasons they don't need to because of the diet basically that they're choosing to eat and not really understanding nutrition. And listen, I had the nutrition class just probably like you did. I don't know, I was like in middle school, the the class where they had like the plastic grapes and the plastic apple and the plastic, you know, banana and the food pyramid. And I mean, like, what was I really learning? I mean, nothing really. But really, you know, having a nutritional class where they're showing you how to cook, how to eat, the portion control, and actually implementing these things and not making the class like a test. Let's test you on the food pyramid. I mean, no, let's implement the food pyramid. Don't test me on nutrition. Let's implement it. That's a change that needs to take place. And I really felt bad for this girl. I mean, she's talking in front of which I assume was either a nutritionist or a certified diabetes educator or a dietitian. And she said, and I literally quote, "I'm eating better. I went to Taco Bell today and I ate the chicken instead of the beef." I mean, like, literally, that's her interpretation of eating better. That's, you know, she's having a baby and she literally was eating a ton of just fast food. And after she gets this diagnosis, like, her mother takes her to this food buffet. And I'm like, what? I mean, what is the most probably unnutritional place to go and eat? A buffet. The other thing that I noticed is when they were picking up all the food on the tray to eat, you know, like onion rings and fried chicken and all biscuits and all this stuff, the one thing that her mother and herself noted as being, you know, like, I can't eat this because it has sugar, was this like cinnamon bun that had just sugar all over it. And her mother was like, "Oh, you can't eat this, but I can." And then to top it off, the mother eats this dessert in front of her. And she couldn't, you know, eat it because she had, you know, gestational or type 2. Another huge just a lot of people think that, you know, eating better is not eating dessert. But look what was on your plate. She had like a biscuit, some onion rings. I mean, these carbohydrate, high-fat, dense foods that she didn't even look at as being bad. Literally, she didn't. She thought, you know, beef at Taco Bell was bad and this huge sugary bun was bad. But she was probably eating more carbohydrates just in her meal than if she had eaten 4 of those buns. So it just goes to show that there's just a lack of education about nutrition and diabetes. And just because it like has sugar all over it, you know, that's what we shouldn't be eating. But there's a lot of other things that are dense in carbohydrates that probably are affecting your blood sugar more than avoiding some of those foods. So I was just really troubled with the lack of education and lack of support that she had. I mean, when they went home, she went home with her fiance, husband, boyfriend. I mean, that also shifted throughout the show. But she was like, "I'm going to eat a healthy meal." And he cooked her a healthy meal. It was a fried egg with a ton of ketchup on top of it and a piece of toast with peanut butter on it. That was what they considered a very healthy meal. Now, obviously, I think most of us know that that isn't a healthy meal, but that just goes to show that what the doctors were trying to implement with her with the scare tactic wasn't working because she just didn't understand what good foods were or didn't have them available in a sense. Because I can only imagine if that's her like really healthy meal, an egg with a ton of ketchup and toast with peanut butter on it, if that's a really healthy meal, I mean, what are her meals that she thinks are just like, they're a little bad? You know, like 10 slices of pizza is just like a little bad, you know? I mean, I don't know. But really, I think the lack of education on what nutrition is and the implementation of it was definitely her downfall in the show. So, I don't know. I mean, I was really passionate when I was watching this show, the real life, because I found a lot of similarities between some of the characters or the people that were on the show. And one of the things that really came out a lot was the depression. And talking with a lot of folks on OneHappyDiabetic.com, I mean, depression exists. I mean, 1 out of 5 people have depression, and if you have type 1 or 2 diabetes, if you have diabetes, the incidences are even higher. I mean, I've been there, and you know, in that like, why me? Why do I have this? Let me rebel against it. So it was very interesting, the depression that was kind of portrayed in the videos. And we all know with higher blood sugars, you know, moodiness can come as well. One of the things that I found in common with all of these people that were on the show was that none of them accepted the fact that they were diabetic. None of them. And I really wish they had showed somebody, not necessarily that was in super control, but somebody that had accepted the fact that they had this disease. Obviously, Matt was out partying and trying to be a college kid. He wasn't really accepting the fact that he had it. The girl that was coming out of college, I mean, it was like she had it, but I don't know. I mean, I didn't see it in their eyes where they really matured up to the fact that they had this disease. And listen, I can't blame them. I probably hadn't accepted the fact that I was diabetic at their age too. And that's why I thought this was actually a good show. So if you didn't check it out, I strongly suggest you do. It really does give a good glimpse of these three people going through similar things. And let me tell you, when this girl, oh my God, had to do an insulin injection and she just had the shots, I was just thinking, oh my gosh, I wish she had watched my video on YouTube before she tried to do this, man. I was like, oh man, wrong way, wrong way. I'm like, it's gonna hurt, it's gonna hurt. Oh man, but listen, I've been there. I'm glad I'm not doing my shots like that anymore. What I really wish they did on this episode was, instead of focusing so much on the depression, which is an element, I really wish they showed a little bit more of the successes that these folks could have and more positive spin on their motivation and what they were doing and how they were bettering their diabetes. Because it's almost like, you know, it's almost like watching something on depression, you know, and you're really hoping at the end of this show that they're going to show you ways to get out of it. And I think that's one of the things that they could have done a better job was, yeah, they showed real life people with diabetes, but they had an opportunity to reach a lot of people that have diabetes and friends and families that were watching this show. Instead of focusing and scaring them so much on the depression and ill side effects to gestational diabetes, to show maybe at the end ways that they could have done things better, or how they were doing things better, or how they were going to educate themselves in the future, instead of just kind of leaving it as, you know, this bad kind of alcohol recovery episode at the end was kind of the only thing. But overall, I thought it was a good thing. You should check it out. And if you have seen it, comment on this video below. Sorry it was so long. Hope everybody's having a great day out there. And remember, you can be a one happy diabetic too. It's all about your attitude. Take care and good luck.